In a country that never stops moving, reliable energy is essential. People need oil and natural gas for heating, transportation, and everyday items like clothing, cell phones, and contact lenses. Behind the scenes, one of America's largest pipeline operators, Energy Transfer, works all day, every day to transport the energy that our communities depend on. Energy Transfer invests in modern infrastructure as technologies like AI drive greater need for reliable natural gas. Learn more at energytransfer.com.
What's going on? I'm Arch Manning, Viore athlete and college quarterback. Whether I'm running, training, traveling, or just unwinding at home, I love doing it in my core shorts from Viore. With a breathable boxer brief liner, they're quick to dry, super versatile, and stand up to even my most intense training sessions. Plus, they come in 3 inseams and a ton of colors. Ready to try a pair? Go to viore.com/arch and get 20% off at checkout. I think you're going to love them as much as I do. That's VUORI.com/ARCH and get 20% off your first order. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Have a great day.
There's a fire inside you can't ignore. Stand still? Not a chance. You're a lifelong learner who's come this far. Now, we're here to help you keep going further. Capella University. What can't you do? Visit capella.edu to learn more.
What's going on? I'm Arch Manning, Viore athlete and college quarterback. Whether I'm running, training, traveling, or just unwinding at home, I love doing it in my core shorts from Viore. With a breathable boxer brief liner, they're quick to dry, super versatile, and stand up to even my most intense training sessions. Plus, they come in 3 inseams and a ton of colors. Ready to try a pair? Go to viore.com/arch and get 20% off at checkout. I think you're going to love them as much as I do. That's VUORI.com/ARCH and get 20% off your first order. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Have a great day.
There's a fire inside you can't ignore. Stand still? Not a chance. You're a lifelong learner who's come this far. Now, we're here to help you keep going further. Capella University. What can't you do? Visit capella.edu to learn more.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to day number 7 of 14 days of summer fear. I've got 4 stories to share with you today. I'll get straight into them. Are you ready for the first story? Marked by ritual in Himachal, my uncle's encounter with the woman of the coiled tongue. I live in Punjab, and some of the most terrifying stories I know come from my grandparents during summer power cuts. This is a true incident that happened to my uncle years ago, and it still chills our family to this day. My uncle was travelling to a wedding in a remote mountain village in Himachal Pradesh. The bus dropped him off on the main road, leaving him with a 2-hour trek on foot. Being unfamiliar with the terrain and having had a bit to drink, he took a wrong turn. As night fell, he found himself deep in the wilderness, on a narrow trail that seemed to lead to nowhere. In the pitch black, he saw a figure of light. Thinking he'd found a house, he approached quietly. What he saw was a woman sitting in a deep ritualistic trance by a small flame. But it was her face that froze his blood. Her tongue was unnaturally long, hanging out and coiled in a massive heap on the ground in front of her. Terrified, he backed away and ran. He thought he had escaped, but when he returned home to Punjab, the horror followed him. Suddenly, everywhere he went, crows began to haunt him. No matter how many people were around, a crow would dive out of the sky, specifically to attack his head. It wasn't just one bird. Groups of them would follow him, watching him from the trees. It was as if he had been marked by that woman in the mountains, and she was using the birds to find him. My Nanu, grandfather, realised this was no coincidence and told him. She didn't open her eyes, but she knew you saw her. She sent something to finish you. On my Nanu's recommendation, my uncle went to a powerful Ocha, a traditional healer stroke exorcist. The Ucha confirmed that he had accidentally witnessed a very dark, high-level ritual, and that the woman had placed a curse on him to silence him. After a series of intense healing rituals, the attacks finally stopped, and the crows left him alone. He survived, but it served as a permanent warning to our family. Some things in the mountains are meant to stay hidden, and if you see them, you might not come back the same. It's really terrifying for me, because when I first heard about that incident, I was 12 years old.
So what was this? That is extremely frightening, and especially the fact that whatever this was followed them home. I'm not into that at all. Are you ready for the second story?
Summer camp in France. My name is Logan and I am French. At that time, in 2015, I was 15 years old, and my mother had signed me up for a week there. Once we arrived at the summer camp, we ate and then went to bed. The next day, Tuesday, we went to do the activities and then came back to the dormitory. The dormitory had 3 floors. The first was the entrance hall. The second was for 5 to 10-year-olds, and the top floor was for 10 to 18-year-olds. The showers were huge and harsh-looking, and everyone stayed in dorm rooms that could accommodate 4 people. In the same dorm, there was me, 2 friends of mine, and the dorm manager. He was responsible for emergencies, such as if there were a fire, and he was the one who had to get everyone out or deal with any other serious problem. At the hall level, there was a button that allowed the alarm to sound in the animator's dormitory, which was in another part of the building, and it would also open the door automatically. So on that famous Tuesday, someone reported that somebody had scratched the door of one of the children's bedrooms downstairs with a fork. The manager, whose name was Matthias, went to check, and indeed a bent fork had left large marks on the door. We all went to sleep, and the next day planned an impromptu party with everyone in the upper dormitory. In the evening, the animators did their rounds for an hour. Then they went downstairs, locked the door, and left for their own dormitory. So we took out the small packets of candy, cake, and drinks that some people had hidden, and the evening was going well. Then at 11 p.m, shouts came from downstairs on the first floor. A child came running to our dorm crying, "Adults, can you help us?" Matthias replied, "What do you want us to help you with?" And the child said, "There's a tall, black man with a huge head." We all looked at each other. The child continued, saying that the light downstairs had gone out 3 minutes earlier, after which he had run to the showers. Matthias decided to ask everyone at the party who wanted to go downstairs. I volunteered and asked who had flashlights. There were some, and he gave them to me. In total, all of the 10 to 18-year-olds gathered to go downstairs and see, because no one wanted to stay alone. We went downstairs and could hear the younger children crying. Matthias asked that they be taken to the hall, while a small group went to look in the showers. Personally, I helped take a few children to the hall, and once everyone was downstairs, we waited a little while. Then suddenly, Matthias and 4 others came rushing down, almost terrified. Matthias pressed the red button, and we were all sent outside as we saw the animators arriving. I asked Matthias what had happened in the showers, but he answered me coldly, "Don't worry." The animators arrived and asked what was going on. Matthias explained everything, and by decision of the director, we were told we would sleep in the girls' dormitory, still separated by age group, with improvised beds set up for everyone. The next day we collected our things and stayed at the girls' dormitory. Shower times were divided between the girls and the boys, so there would not be any problems. The girls got dressed in their rooms, and the boys got dressed in the showers. I've remained friends with Matthias ever since, and he later became the director of this camp. One day we met again and talked about what had happened there. He told me that in the showers, there'd been a huge shadow staring at them, and that was why he had panicked. He also told me that paranormal phenomena have continued there, and that he's actually made it part of the attraction. The camp is still open today, despite everything that is said to have happened there. We have to love a summer camp because something always goes on at a summer camp. I'd be tempted to go to an adult summer camp. Spooky themed, I'm there. Are you ready for the third story? The music from across the lake. So I can't remember what year it was exactly, but I think it was around 2013. I'd been living in Seattle, but I moved back home to my parents' house for a short stay for a few months to get back on my feet before I could move to Tacoma. I came back in late summer and was gone to the city after Thanksgiving. During that time, I started to hang out with some folks from the old gang, people who stayed after high school. One of the people we hung out with, her grandparents owned a home overlooking a lake. It was awesome. We had some excellent parties there. Now Ashley, all names changed for privacy, and her family owned this home for a while, since the mid-1980s, and she told us about an accident that happened. It was summer in the early 90s, and her father's friend died there. She was fuzzy on the details, but it was a jet ski accident, and he drowned in the lake. Apparently they dragged him to shore, but were too late. I'm not sure that explains what happened to us, but I just wanted to preface the story with that could have been a factor. It was late fall in 2013. My friend Chris and I were waiting on our respective girlfriends at the time, getting ready for a Halloween party that night. He was sitting playing some PC game in the corner, and I was watching some horror movie on TV. At this point, it was dark, pretty pitch black, a dry night, I remember. I went out back to smoke, and I kept hearing a strange noise. The noise sounded like something slapping around in mud or muck. Not a strong thud, but weak, just enough to grab my attention. I could hear it coming from around the lake. At this point, my buddy Chris is out here smoking with me. I asked him if he heard that noise. He said he did so. Without any real hesitation, we started to investigate. In some reeds, we found a huge decaying salmon still alive. Its eyes were whited out, and whatever kind of rot it had, it was affecting its whole body, rotting while it was still alive. We were baffled. I don't know much about local flora and fauna, but from what Chris and I both knew, salmon didn't run in that lake, no sea access. That was weird. We chalked it up to the magic of Halloween. You know, weird stuff happens. It wasn't Halloween, but good enough explanation. We just didn't really want to think about that sickening flopping sound. The ladies now, finally ready it was time to move out. We had a good time at my friend's house party. But after we headed back to the lake house, I failed to mention my friend Chris had moved in there recently. It was late. The girls had gone on to sleep, but Chris and I were hopelessly addicted to a MOBO called Heroes of New Earth at the time. So we wanted to get in a game. Who cares how many beers we had? During the game, we noticed the windows of the house were opened wide open. It was cold in the house. It's October in Washington State, talking 40 degrees outside. We both had our computers set up in the kitchen area, since no one used the tables for anything. Chris got up and shut each window. They were the kind of window that slid open from the bottom, so you needed to slide the window up to open it. After the game, we went out to smoke, a pretty common practice for us. As we were getting up, I heard Chris say, "What the heck? I closed these." The windows were back open, wide open like before. He closed them again. This time, I saw with my own eyes. We smoked, went back inside to our computers, and as we entered the queue for another game, I noticed that once again the windows were opened wide. At this point, we thought a friend of ours was trying to mess with us. A friend who knew we'd be there. It was a pretty common hangout spot for all our friend group. People dropped in all the time. So we looked out in the driveway, and everything checked out, all the normal cars. Chris and I started to get spooked. Someone is messing with us, and not one of our friends. We armed ourselves. Chris had a big mag flashlight, made out of metal. I grabbed a big knife out of the kitchen drawer. We thought at this point it was time to take a look around the house. The fog was starting to come in off the lake. If you've never seen fog creep and stretch, it's a weird thing. It's slow. Also, almost in a heartbeat, it's covering the land in wisps just enough to fool you. It dampens noise too, so every tree branch you snap under your feet sounds different, like it's just for you to hear. The flashlight was weak, it was old, so we just got a few feet of light. We looked around the house, started out front where the driveway was. We looked by the cars, checking to see if our cars were fine, and we moved from there to the side of the house where the windows were. No one around. At this point, the lake couldn't be seen. It looked like it was made of smoke, just so thick with fog, nothing could be seen. That's when we heard something, at first very softly. It was music, a song I have never heard, the slow roll of the piano. Both Chris and I were thrown off by the sound of the music. "You're hearing this music, right?" he asked. "Yeah, man," I said back. We were practically holding hands at this point, standing shoulder to shoulder, nearing closer to the back door. The music was starting to get louder, or just closer to us. Chris, with his flashlight, started looking in all directions, trying to find the source. It sounded like it was coming off the lake. If it was a boat or something, the fog would part. We would be able to see something moving. Nothing moved, but the music, some somber tune I could never make out. If I ever heard it again, I would recognise it. The music has never left me. Chris and I were both pretty unnerved by the situation unfolding. We went inside and locked the doors once again. The windows were wide open. Chris closed them, and I remember this so vividly. Chris closed and locked the windows, and he looked white. He turned around and said, I could hear music off the lake. We went to bed snuggling in with our ladies, who were none the wiser. The next morning, I remember being woken up by Chris's girlfriend, complaining how cold it was. The windows were left open overnight. Chris and I are still close friends. We discuss this every few years. We have never really landed on what the music was, or what was up with the fish. or even weirder, the windows that wouldn't stay closed. We don't know if any of it was connected to the untimely drowning that happened. What I do know is that I never heard the music again, and neither did he. Now, I did think the salmon could have been dropped by a bird, and then because it was dropped in the lake, perhaps that kind of water causes something to happen. That was my thought, but I would have felt weird about it as well if I'd have seen it. Spooky stuff going on around bodies of water that I'm really uncomfortable with because I don't like water. I really don't. I'm not a good swimmer. And it freaks me out. The sea freaks me out. Water, large bodies of it, freak me out. Are you ready for the fourth and final story? My personal, not dear, encounter. My grandmother lives near a popular walking trail in Missouri, and her backyard is part of a large piece of common ground land. Deer are commonly spotted by people in this field, and there are quite a few of them. My grandma, like most, likes to feed birds. She eventually started leaving food out for the deer to make friends with them, even naming a few with distinct features. It was cute, and thanks to her, I've gotten to see a lot of deer up close, going out to feed them a couple of times myself. Pretty much every deer I've encountered has been normal and adorable, except for one. The first time I saw him was around 5 p.m, when I'd gone out to put corn in the little buckets my grandma leaves out for the deer. He was stumbling across the field in an odd, drunken manner. I thought that it was likely injured, so I took the cup of corn to get its attention and feed it to help him on his journey to recovery. He looked up at me, his eyes beaming into me. I felt an odd shock go through my body that I still can't explain. After an odd moment of tension, he began slinking over to me, nearly falling on his face over and over again. I then noticed that it was missing an antler and had oddly human-like pupils. I dumped the corn into the bucket and retreated inside to watch the poor fella eat from the window, like I normally do with all the other deer. The entire time the thing ate, it stared directly at me, never breaking eye contact or blinking. It wasn't rare for a deer to keep its eye on me while eating, making sure I'm not up to anything. But I had never seen one go this long without blinking. Oddly enough, no other deer showed up that day for corn. We normally get at least 4, at most 15 deer at once. So this was odd. Once he finished eating, he continued his awkward walk back to the tree line. He peeked over his shoulder multiple times to see if I was still watching. Once he got back to the trees, I went back to what I had been doing before going out to feed. But when I looked back outside, I saw the thing standing on its hind legs, still looking back at the house. I closed the blinds and tried to explain the situation to my grandmother. She said she thought that what I saw was unlikely, and that the deer's weird demeanour had probably just put me on edge. I begrudgingly accepted this explanation and carried along with my day. That night, I heard what sounded like a knock on the window. My grandmother sometimes has to take the dog out at night before bed, so I assumed it was likely her trying to get my attention for whatever reason. I walked towards the windows, drawing the blinds, to see it standing there, on hind legs again, with a hoof on the window. I closed the blinds again immediately and retreated to my bathroom, the only room in the house with a lock and no window. I knew all the doors were thankfully locked, so I didn't have to worry about my grandma's safety. I heard it grind its hoof
and last remaining antler against the glass. Desperate to get my attention or break through. I don't know or want to know which. Eventually it stopped, and I went to check on my grandmother. Luckily, she was all right, and we were able to see the creature from her bedroom window, staring from the tree line, still on hind legs. We both vowed that if we ever saw it out again, we'd poison the corn we left out. I still hear it knock on the window every now and then, but thankfully it gets bored quickly and retreats. We have since installed an outdoor camera, so if I ever catch a photo or video, I'll be sure to post it.
In a country that never stops moving, reliable energy is essential. People need oil and natural gas for heating, transportation, and everyday items like clothing, cell phones, and contact lenses. Behind the scenes, one of America's largest pipeline operators, Energy Transfer, works all day, every day to transport the energy that our communities depend on. Energy Transfer invests in modern infrastructure as technologies like AI drive greater need for reliable natural gas. Learn more at energytransfer.com.
As a fan chosen for the halftime challenge, I love sports.
For a chance to win the big prize.
But when my half-court heave only goes half the distance,
How embarrassing for him.
I wonder, is Sport Clips better than sports? Because Sport Clips Haircuts is sports on TV, plus an expert haircut, hot steam towel, and massaging shampoo.
Tear up his comically large check.
Which is better than sports plus
Public embarrassment.
Sport Clips. It's a game changer. Check it online at sportclips.com.
I love not deer stories. I really do. But that one knocking on the window. Oh dear. No, I just can't deal with that at all. Well, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Paragold has luxury homes' largest selection of outdoor furniture, lighting, decor, and more. Access more than 2,000 of design's best brands with beautiful all-weather pieces in every style, from traditional to modern. Plus, enjoy free design services and full-service delivery on most items. Shop in-store and online at Paragold.com. Paragold. Luxury lives here.
In a country that never stops moving, reliable energy is essential. People need oil and natural gas for heating, transportation, and everyday items like clothing, cell phones, and contact lenses. Behind the scenes, one of America's largest pipeline operators, Energy Transfer, works all day, every day to transport the energy that our communities depend on. Energy Transfer invests in modern infrastructure as technologies like AI drive greater need for reliable natural gas. Learn more at energytransfer.com.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.